No additional punishment for Caleb Martin. The secret behind Sam Hauser's hot shooting, and the one thing Miami can do to get back into this series, it has to do with a lot of math, and it's all right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Thanks to Blockbuster brand, it's holiday season. Drop Drew in the mix, and 3 from KP. No, we not on the Knicks. Flushing competition like Al on Giannis. Juice and Big Juice, still Beantown's finest. Banner 18 going up in the rafters. Watch the C's game in Locked On after. Karalis on the breakdown, clutch like a tip from D White on the breakdown. John on the mic documenting domination. Matter pen a back bay, it's all C's nation. Rain and J's, how we started raising business, how we finish. Locked On Celtics pod, home of the winners. Peace.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast. It's right here in the Locked On Podcast Network where it's your team every day, and I got you covered every day, Monday through Friday, bonus podcast covering the playoffs. It's going to be a podcast fest from now till the end of June, hopefully culminating with a podcast from the back of a duck boat. That would be the best podcast to do. We'll see if we can get there. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcast. Watch the show on YouTube. Get into the comment section. Let me know what you think. If you're new to the show, I'm John Karalis. I used to play a long time ago. Now I'm a beat writer covering the Celtics for Boston Sports Journal. And for you, you're the fan. I'm here for you. Today's show is brought to you by Monopoly Go. I admit it, I have a competitive side, and it is a big fan of Monopoly Go, the mobile hit twist on classic Monopoly. So join your friends and download Monopoly Go now for free on the App Store or on Google Play. Later on, we'll get into the one adjustment the Miami Heat can make. I know I teased the math, and if it's one thing I've learned over time, when people hear math, they get excited. They can't wait to hear about the math. So we'll talk about that in the third segment. We'll talk a little bit more about the Celtics offense, the spacing, the shooting. Sam Hauser, Payton Pritchard didn't give them enough love or any love in yesterday's podcast because I was talking about all the post-game stuff. So we'll talk about them. But we'll start with the Caleb Martin stuff because there's no further punishment coming. We're going to talk about it with Tom Westerholm. Tom _NBA. How you doing, my man?
I'm good, man. I think the listeners at home should know the fire intro that they missed out on before we started this up.
Yeah.
You recorded an awesome intro, and then
Best
we're not
intro
going
I
to
ever
use
did.
it.
No, it's gone. Recorded over it. It's gone. That's not even a recording for me to share on social. Let's just say that I had a few choice words for myself and a lot of hand signals to tell myself what I felt about myself.
Yes.
So
it was heat.
It was a fun one.
No pun intended.
Yeah. So a lot of people throwing up those same hand signals at Caleb Martin after he trucked Jayson Tatum. Gary Washburn, right before we recorded, saying that a league source tells him there will be no further punishment, no upgraded penalties, no nothing. What we see is what we get with the Caleb Martin punishment. Do you feel that is appropriate, Tom?
I do. I think initially, I think honestly, I would have felt that way either way. I thought it was when I first watched it, I thought it was a reckless play, but not like something that looked like, super intentional. Like it just kind of looked like a guy who was playing a little too hard and didn't really care what kind of happened. And then you see some of the angles and it's like, there's kind of an overhead angle that does make it look like Drew Holiday affected his path just a little bit. Just a wee bit. It's not saying he couldn't have done more to try to avoid, potentially dangerous situation. And also, I'm not going to fault Celtics fans for having 3,000 panic attacks directly in a row.
Oh, yeah.
You see Jayson Tatum flipping on the ground. Yeah, you're going to react not well.
Yeah.
I totally get it. But that said, I do think I think no further punishment is the right call here.
Yeah. I said on yesterday's podcast, I didn't think it was dirty. That was my initial reaction. I was open to the possibility that it might have been. And, I didn't even really notice the Holiday kind of push, which, look, I think you're right. It's not like he two-hand shove, put him in the back and just pushed him directly into Tatum, but he did kind of like influence the speed at which he was moving, right? Like when you're moving like Caleb Martin was, a little goes a long way. I'll say it that way.
That's exactly right. I mean, think about how little you need to nudge somebody when they're in the air to create a crisis, right? Like, and I'm like, he moved Tatum a lot in the air. I'm not talking about that in this
Yeah.
situation, but like if a guy's in transition, he's running out. If somebody, if you give him a little push in the back as he's going up for a layup, I mean that could send the guy, into the second row. Like it does not take much. If
Yeah.
the guy's moving fast or in the air or something like that. So yeah, I think like you said, I think you said it right. A little goes a long way there.
So the comparison that I've settled on is kind of a football one where a defensive back is closing in on the ball carrier and he lowers his head to make the tackle. And the offensive player, after the defensive player lowers his head and loses sight, the offensive player then lowers his head, and now you've got helmet to helmet contact. I think the lowering of the head by the defensive player is reckless. Did it intend to go helmet to helmet? No. It was reckless. Yes. I think Caleb Martin wanted to get in there and maybe hit Tatum, let Tatum know, like, hey, I am boxing you out. You're going to take a hard box out from me here. And I think Holiday made that a little bit more of just sped him up a little bit. And I think Caleb Martin turned his head at a point where Jayson Tatum jumped and didn't realize that he was getting him. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt because when he saw that he jumped and he fell, he did immediately react like, oh, whoa, I didn't mean to do that.
You can see his lips go like, ooh, like you could see that happen. Yeah.
So reckless, I could see if the league wanted to say it's been upgraded to a flagrant 1, I could have seen that. Does this mean anything to Celtics fans? Like, no, I think they're probably going to be mad at us for being like, kind of like, nah, it wasn't the result. If Tatum didn't jump, then we wouldn't be here, right? This wouldn't have even been a conversation. It's because Tatum jumped, got hit low, got undercut, and landed on his back that this was even a conversation. And I don't think that Martin intended to hit him in the air. So that's kind of where I leave it. Not to say that it was like, I'm fine with the play. Like he was playing hard and he was reckless. And so there may be a little bit of a hard fight. All I know is I'm going to pull the back in my day, in the classic 80s.
For the first time, you're going to pull that card.
Yeah. If this was the 80s, 90s heyday of the NBA, Caleb would go into game 2, knowing someone's going to lay the wood on him. Like he's going to get a hard foul.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's also fair to acknowledge, like, hey, the Heat play really physically, and like, and I'm saying that both in terms of like, hey, respect how physically they play, but also in terms of like, when you play physically, you walk right up to the line sometimes, right? Like, and like that does happen, and I think we'll probably get into this more, but like that's one of the reasons it's really important for the Celtics to end this series as quickly as possible, because a desperate, hard playing team that plays physically is just, you don't want to mess around in a series like that and be in it for longer than you have to.
Yes. Because you don't know who's going to jump unexpectedly and who's going to get hit harder than they should and how that landing is going to go.
You don't know who's going to nudge their shoulder out just a little bit into the path of Derek White and, send him to the ground. Like this, like it's the playoffs. Everybody's playing hard. There's no question about all that stuff. But just like, the Heat are especially physical. So you want to finish this one.
They play a style where the question of, was this dirty, is not an uncommon question. Right? It's not, and it may not be the last time we ask that question. So my final verdict, reckless but not dirty, is my final verdict, and I think the NBA agrees. Maybe I don't know if Brian Scalabrine is going to change his tune or not, but we'll see.
Well, he was on Le Batard's show today, saying like, I don't feel like he walked it back at all. But he kind of like clarified a little bit that he wasn't saying like, I'm not saying Spoelstra said
put the bounty on him,
go hit Jayson Tatum, but I am saying that they probably showed the Jaylen Brown foul on Duncan Robinson a bunch of times. Was kind of the crux of his argument.
I got you.
Which, yeah, I mean, maybe, probably, right?
Maybe.
They got to.
Well,
There's got to be an advantage somewhere.
we'll see. We'll see how that goes. I tell you what, they're gonna have to find a way if they want to lay a hard foul on Caleb Martin. They're gonna have to find a way to do it when he's setting a pick or something. Because when he's got the ball, the Celtics had no respect for him at all. I rewatched that game and I looked at it and I was like, oh my God, they did not care when he shot. Like last year, you can very clearly tell that they're like, we think last year was the aberration of aberrations. We do not fear you shooting. Go ahead. There were no closeouts on him.
Yeah. Hilarious to watch in light of last year. Just like honestly wild. Like, and
Tatum and Porzingis both had opportunities and they're like, nah. It's good.
Which Porzingis had one of those on Hero too, which was funny. Like Hero made that one, but he was just like, all right, have it, sir.
Go ahead. It's fine. All right, let's talk about that Celtics bench. I didn't talk about Sam Hauser and Payton Pritchard enough, but there's a secret. I have a secret to Sam Hauser shooting. It's something the Celtics did over and over and over again. I'll talk about that when we come back. Today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy, made fun, because it's you against the projections. There's 3 million people who are on Prize Picks, making it America's #1 fantasy sports app, but it's you against 0 of them. It's you against the numbers. So pick Jayson Tatum points, whatever they set it at. Is it more or less? Payton Pritchard assists, more or less. Whatever you want to put, go for it. And hey, you have a chance to win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks. So you can go and take your chance and maybe hit it big. So all you need is 4 correct picks. As few as 4 correct picks, you can win up to $1,000 if you put $10 down on basketball, hockey, any kind of sport, basically around the world. There's like global stuff there. So check it out. Simple to play. You can make your picks and submit them in less than 60 seconds. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay. You can play against famous people in the community tab. You have insurance. So if your person gets hurt, you have a reset. So go check it out on Prize Picks. Make sure you download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA. You get a first deposit match up to $100. Locked On NBA is the code. Locked On NBA for a first deposit match up to $100 on Prize Picks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On Sports today, 24/7 on YouTube. Make sure you're ditching the big networks, Fox Sports, ESPN. It's all fake arguments. They're just trying to bait you into being angry. Locked On Sports Today has you covered with all real sports talk. Remember real sports talk? It's here on YouTube every day, 7 days a week, and on the Amazon Fire TV channels app every day, 24/7, 7 days a week. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. All right, Tom. It didn't give Payton Pritchard and Sam Hauser enough love in the post-game podcast because they were instrumental in the early going. Hauser in the second quarter, especially. But both of them hitting threes. Hauser was 4 of 6, 4 for 4 after missing his first 2. Pritchard hit a couple in there. He was 2 for 5. And Joe Mazzulla kind of stuck to somewhat regular season rotations. 41 minutes for Jayson Tatum, maybe in there a little too long, maybe because they were letting him chase his triple-double, which is fine. I have no problem with reward the guy for playing that first half, the first 3 quarters. Watching him play was just better than I remember seeing him in person. He was moving the ball so well. Really well. Yeah, it was great. And that's what allowed Pritchard and Hauser to get going. So, but everything else was mid-30s, mid-20s for the guys off the bench. Hauser played just about 14 minutes. Kind of normal rotations, but the guys off the bench, Pritchard and Hauser, really stepped up.
They did. Real quick on Tatum's minutes too. I thought it was interesting. I think it was Reddick on the national broadcast who was saying one advantage to playing these guys longer minutes was they've had a bunch of time off. Like they gotta
totally
get back in shape, man. Get that
and you get
cardio
2
up a little
days
bit.
off too. So it's like
Yeah.
no real
Yeah. I mean, and like little disrespectful, I mean, kind of appropriately so, to this Heat team to just be like, I mean, use them to get your cardio up, man. Like, I don't know. Like, get on the treadmill a little bit here.
But considering this series is probably going to be over in 4 or 5, I'm just saying, if they play, and we'll cover this in the in the third segment here. Watching that again, I have even more confidence than I did after the game in person. Watching it on video, because when you watch it on video, you get to see the whole floor, and the spacing just hits you, smacks you in the face. Like, damn, the Celtics with their spacing got anything they wanted offensively. So,
yep,
they can get their cardio up here, but they're probably going to be having a few days off to wait. So it's all going to go away anyway.
True. That's true. No, for sure. And I mean, obviously, like Hauser and Pritchard are huge for that spacing, right? Like, and I think it was interesting to me. I always think it's kind of telling, like, Mazzulla is such a fascinating post-game interview, almost like no matter what. Like, I know people are like, this guy's a psycho, this guy's whatever. I mean, kind of, but also like once you kind of have, transcribed his very fast speaking enough times, like he starts to make a lot of sense. And what he means when he's like, it's very interesting when he talks about Hauser post-game after game one. The first thing he was talking about was just Jayson Tatum. Like that, he just like immediately hopped to like, let me use this as an opportunity to talk about Tatum. Let me use this as an opportunity to talk about Tatum. And I think that made a lot of sense because like you come away from that game, Tatum had a triple-double, but I don't remember his total points off the top of my head. What was it, like 22 or something? 23. Yeah, so 23 points. Like you're not coming away from that game looking at the box score and being like, wow, this guy was amazing. But like Hauser, Tatum, that pairing was so symbiotic and just perfect together, especially in that second quarter when the Celtics kind of pulled away a little bit. That's going to be so hard for the Heat to deal with both. I mean, certainly in man-to-man, right? Because they like that, the double team comes and then it's just whip, easy, three-pointer. But in the zone too, like Hauser just, he's so good at kind of sliding around, finding those little areas on the court. I mean, it's one of the best things you can do as a shooter, right? Is to have that ability to float and to go from like, okay, I'm just above the break. My guy's kind of shading up a little bit. Let me just doot into the corner. Tatum's gotten good enough as a passer to just make that read, make that pass. Maybe get a hockey assist off of it, whatever it ends up being. Like, I think Mazzulla is right to really praise Tatum for Hauser's performance. It's like everything was just put on a platter for him. And I think all 4 of his made threes were in some way a result of Tatum. I know 3 of them were.
They kind of
worked perfectly together.
And that's the secret here. I tweeted it out. I'm going to write about it on Boston Sports Journal. The zone busting, the secret, 2 things. Tatum drawing a couple, and then Al Horford. What happens is, if you picture the court on the right side, you have Jayson Tatum kind of like in the corner. You've got, I forget who it was, but shooter on the above the break on the right, shooter above the break on the left, Hauser on the opposite corner, and Al Horford is just kind of like leaning on Bam Adebayo in the middle. Once Jayson Tatum draws 2, it's a wrap because those 2 are committed to him. Tatum gets high opposite to the guy on the other, so that's the left above the break guy. Now, the zone, you have 3 guys across the bottom. That guy in the bottom left, which at one point was Jaime Jaquez, goes up because now there's no one to cover that guy, Payton Pritchard or Drew Holiday. He goes up, but Al Horford has picked Bam Adebayo down low, and all he's doing is just kind of like impeding the progress. And so when it swings over to Hauser, Adebayo's like, get out of my way, Al Horford. Now I'm going to go try to challenge him. By that time, forget it. Done. They did the exact same thing. Literally the exact same thing on 3 straight plays where Tatum drew 2, kick it high opposite, swing to the corner. Horford has picked off the guy down low, Bam Adebayo, and Hauser's like bap, bap, bap. And the other one was some variation of that where Holiday's the one who drew 2 and swung and got it over to Hauser in the opposite corner. Same thing. Watch the bigs, man. The bigs in this were just beautiful. And when it comes to one of the Pritchard threes, it was Kristaps Porzingis on a pick and roll drawing Tyler Hero because the Celtics recognize, they're doubling the ball handler, they're blitzing the ball handler. So if I roll, somebody's got to help. There's 2 on JB, there's nobody on me, so Tyler Hero has to come over and account for me. And JB is like, oh yeah, I got Payton Pritchard right in the corner. Whap. There's whatever Miami threw at them. Zone busted easily. Doubling busted easily. Straight up mismatch hunting busted easily. Miami, Tom, cannot stop the Celtics if they're playing this moving, reading, all that stuff. They have nothing to stop the Celtics, which brings me to Miami's one adjustment. It's not going to be defensively. It's going to have to come on offense. We'll talk about that one adjustment when I come back. Today's show is brought to you by BetterHelp. Now, I'm a big proponent of therapy. I think therapy has helped me a lot in my life. And whether you need to get something off your chest, something small, something big, something that's been lingering for a while, it is extraordinarily important to let that out. The longer you carry it, the worse it's going to be because it's going to come out somehow, and you better get it out of you now through therapy, through talking to somebody, versus it coming out on its own somewhere else where you didn't intend for it to come out. So go give BetterHelp a try. They have removed the 2 biggest obstacles to therapy. 1, you're not limited to somebody around your area because it's all done online. It's designed to be flexible and it's suited to your schedule. If you've got an internet connection, you have access to your therapist. And number 2, if you don't click with your therapist, fine, you can switch without paying any extra, no change fees, no nothing. So you can find the person that you click with so you can talk to that person about whatever it is you need to talk to. That's where you get the benefits, the real benefits of therapy. So if you're thinking about starting, give BetterHelp a try. Go to BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. Today's show is also brought to you by Monopoly Go. I've been told I'm a competitive person. Tom can attest to that because even though I'm old and about, we'll say 50 pounds over my playing weight, I just cannot get away from a basketball court, and I hate when I lose. Well, yeah, I've got that competitive side. And my competitive side is a big fan of Monopoly Go. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's been downloaded over 150 million times. It is a great twist on Monopoly where you can play not one, but hundreds of Monopoly boards in crazy locations, building up amazing cities that bring you big money. And the best part is, you can mess with your friends, charge them rent on iconic properties, just like classic Monopoly. Now you can heist their vaults for riches for yourself. And the leaderboards, I love a leaderboard. Show me who the biggest Monopoly tycoon is. It's going to be this guy. So it's not just my competitive side that loves it. You can team up with friends and people around the world in time tournaments, earn huge rewards. So get in the game, join your friends, download Monopoly Go right now for free on the App Store or Google Play. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On NBA. It's me and Jake Madison on Wednesday. We'll be here with the rotating hosts all week long. So go check it out. We're going to have that Tuesday night's games covered and breaking those all down. So it's a fun way to cover the NBA and consume all of that stuff. So go check it out. All right, Tom Westerholm. We've talked about the Miami defense. Even with Jimmy Butler, I don't know what they can do.
Yeah.
I don't know what they can do. Offensively, what they did against the Celtics in game 1, no. Not going to work. I'm going to give credit to Wes Goldberg of Locked On Heat. He came up with this one adjustment, and after watching that game again, boy, that rang true. The only thing they can do is lean into the math and try to match the Celtics, shoot 100 shots, put up 53 pointers, and just hope to hell that you can get hot. That one of your guys, Jaime Jaquez, Nikola Jovic, Caleb Martin, Haywood Highsmith, one of those guys, kind of like DeLon Wright did, going 5 for 5, right?
Yep.
Hopefully, from the Miami perspective, you can get a couple of those guys to catch, a heater that's unpredictable, and then you can at least keep up with Boston. And if Boston gets a little cold or they overreact and all of that stuff, now you got yourself a game. I'm not saying I think the Celtics are going to win this in 4 or 5. I'm saying 4 because I just don't see it on a talent level. But the math is what it is. And I know you as a shooter love to hear, hey, go shoot a bunch more.
Yeah, as somebody who has probably come closer than I would like to admit on the occasional 1 for 18 in a men's league game. I'm prone to it for sure. No, I think look, the problem is that the Celtics just also have better players and better shooters. You know what I mean? So it's like that is the only way the Heat are going to win. I'm sorry. The idea. I know Eric Spoelstra is a genius coach. I know he's a great basketball coach, but the idea that you were going to come in Bam Adebayo just mid-ranging the Celtics to death, come on,
they gave him
world
every jumper he wanted.
Absolutely,
any jumper he wants, he can have it.
Let's say he scores 30 points on mid-range jumpers. Okay, I don't understand what the thought process is coming into game 1 of a series, just throwing that out there. You knew that wasn't going to be
right.
Anyway.
I'm just going to interrupt you because there was a stat. I'm going to try to give proper credit for it. That the Celtics, even though they shot so many more 3-pointers, the average shot distance between the two teams, it was further for Miami because so many of their shots came from the mid-range, and Boston was still also getting to the rim.
Yeah.
So it's what's his name? Jared Dubin. Yes, that's what it was. So it's Bam Adebayo. It's drop coverage and saying, hey, Tyler Hero, we're not going to let you kill us from 3 or any of these guys. Go ahead. You want all the mid-range shots you can get. And Bam Adebayo is not exactly like Kevin Durant in the mid-range. So,
right.
He's
good. He's a good mid-range shooter, but
not efficient enough though.
No, definitely not. And I think the Locked On Heat guys are 100% right. The only way you're going to win this is Demam way. I did wonder, if Celtics fans were feeling a certain type of way watching just a random guy catch absolute heat. Maybe DeLon Wright is your Gabe Vincent this year. Just throw that guy out there and say yeah, man, I don't know, go crazy. You haven't made that many of them this year, but if you really believe in Heat magic, DeLon Wright seems to be the touched by an angel guy this year.
Sure.
So, yeah, I don't know, man. I'm with you. I think this very much looks like a 4-game series. I will say it's very easy to watch one playoff game and get completely wrapped up in analyzing that one playoff game and be like, man, I don't know how they're going to do X, Y, or Z. The difference here is just the Heat don't have the firepower. You see the Hawks and it's okay, how are the Hawks going to come back? And it's as much as we've hated on him, Trae Young can go crazy for a game or two. That
Sure.
Can totally happen. The Heat just, without Jimmy Butler, they don't have any guys. They don't have anybody who really scares you on that level. So, I mean, maybe the Celtics just go crazy cold for a game, maybe another game. I don't know, but
here's your evidence. First quarters 1 through 3, where the score was 91-59 Boston. The Celtics were 19 of 43 from 3. Miami was 5 of 28. Now that's 18%, and they're not an 18% shooting team.
Right.
They'll hit more, but that is also a 32-point lead. So if you hit a few more, you're down by 20, maybe. Which in today's NBA, somebody catches a heater, fine. It's not out of the question there. We've seen that.
Yeah.
Fourth quarter, 7 of 9 from 3, Miami, which was the 5 of 5 from DeLon Wright and 2 of 3 from Tyler Hero. So those are your 7 right there. And 3 of 6 for Boston. So Boston didn't shoot as many, even though they shot 50%, they still didn't make as many. And Miami catches fire, and it's a 35-23 quarter for the Heat. So you're asking the impossible. But look, I'm not being arrogant when I say the Celtics starting lineup with Holiday, White, Tatum, Brown, and Porzingis is just a vastly superior offense to whatever defense Hakic, Jovic, Martin, Hero, and Bam Adebayo can bring, right? Like those guys can do some things, but you have to make choices. Any defense in the league has to make a choice, right? The Celtics can make choices on the Miami offense and be like, yeah, go ahead, Caleb. We're fine with you shooting. We're fine with you shooting Jovic. We're fine with you shooting Hakic. Like, we know that you guys want to pump fake and drive and kick and do all that stuff. You're kind of wasting your own time on offense. So go ahead, do all that stuff, and we'll kind of try to bait you into a bunch of mid-range stuff. The Celtics they have no issue firing away. And one of these guys, Brown, Tatum, Porzingis, White, and Holiday, is going to hit these shots. And if they all hit the shots, you're screwed. Yeah. But that's the difference. It's too much firepower. Miami's defense is nowhere near good enough, and Miami's offense has not been able to keep up. So they have to just I don't know, start lighting fires around gasoline tanks and see if something blows up. Like that's what you got. You hopefully somebody in your team is combustible.
Yeah. And again, I think even if somebody does catch fire, like it's just delaying the inevitable here. I think we're like, because to imagining this team taking 4 out of the next 6 off the Celtics is
now that they've won 1, it becomes a little bit tougher. Like now you've got to go. You got to win 4 of 6 from the Celtics. Like 4 of 7 was a lot. And I think just listening to the Miami guys, I think they're just like, can we win game 2 and make them sweat a little bit? And now it's like, a best of 5. Yeah. I don't know. Look, anything can happen, right? The Celtics can go cold, Miami can get hot, and things can turn in a heartbeat, right? Game 1 is not how the entire series is going to go. But the reason why the confidence is there is because if you double Tatum, they found a way to score.
Yeah.
If you went zone, they found a way to score. If you went straight up, they found a way to score. And Boston's defense just picked them apart. Like, because they don't respect Caleb Martin, because they don't respect some of these other guys, now guys like Tatum were free to get deflections and get steals and get out into transition.
Yep.
And now you're piling up points and setting your defense.
And I don't know how much you talked about this yesterday, but also, and because Drew Holiday can defend Tyler Hero so well. Like
yes.
that's
oh, I mean, my God.
Like if you're Miami, I know we're going long here, but like if you're Miami and Holiday is taking away Hero, and at that point it's just like, I don't know, we're just throwing things at the wall at this point, because like your best player's out. You're, I don't know what's Hero, your second, third best scorer. Like he's just completely bottled up by one of the best guard defenders in the NBA. Like it's it's a tough time for Miami.
Yes. So Holiday spent 7.5 minutes on Hero, and then another 33 minutes of partial possessions. Hero shot 33% against Holiday with 2 turnovers, and he did have 2 assists, but like 1 of 3 with 2 turnovers is just they without Jimmy Butler, they need Hero to be the ball handling, scoring, kind of do a little bit of everything. and he's capable of getting hot. But you're right. Holiday on him makes it so much less likely that he's going to get onto a sustained heater.
Yeah.
Because he's being hounded. All right, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Maybe game 2, maybe something happens and we change our tune. We'll see. I'll try to get the Locked On Heat guys on here for a crossover. We'll see. We'll see if we can arrange it. If not, we'll be back tomorrow just to talk more Celtics. Celtics do practice on Tuesday, so there'll be something to come out of that. So make sure you're subscribed. Tom, thank you so much for hopping on.
Appreciate you, man.
Usual. And as always, I do appreciate you, the watcher, you, the listener, everybody that came up to me at the game, section 19, down at the Garden, down by the player tunnel. I love it when you guys come by. Thank you so much for everybody. So touching to hear people talk about listening with a child in the car. That's just so great because that connection, the fact that this podcast has some level of, can foster some level of connection between a parent and a child, it just touches my heart. Really, really, really does. So thank you to everybody who listens, no matter how you listen, where you listen. If you're watching, thank you so, so much. I would love it now if you shared the podcast. Can you tell everybody that they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network? It's your team every day.